sort of a Sephardic story. Sorry, a story which is more for the message than for the validity of the actual story. Did it happen? Did it not happen? But it's an amazing lesson. Once there was a man, a diamond merchant, worked in gems, and he was on a ship going to India or somewhere to buy gems. There we would buy gems at a very cheap price, and we would come back and sell them. And it happened that on the way, it was in the middle of the sea, there began a terrible storm, and his ship sank. The ship sank, and he yelled out for help. He grabbed onto a life raft and a life jacket, and there was a boat, one of the lifeboats floating by. There was nobody in it, so he lifted himself over the side, and he went in, and there was like a tarp, but it was a canvas covering. He covered over the top, and he huddled in. And he had a couple of blankets in there in the lifeboat, and he huddled in there, and the boat was tossing back and forth. He doesn't know how long he was in this boat, this lifeboat, but suddenly he felt that it stopped and it was very warm. Woke up, it was warm. So he opened up the tarp and he saw that it was sun, and it didn't seem that he was shaking, rolling on the sea. So he opened up, he looked outside, and he was on a beach. He washed up on a beach. So he gets out and he thanks God. Thank you for God. Thank you very much. And he's looking around. He sees there's a tree over there. It's got fruits. He eats the fruits. And there's a brook over there. He drinks the water. And he's thanking God. He's thanking God. So he sees there's a road. And he starts walking on this road. And suddenly he looks down on the road, and he sees that he knows gems, right? He looks on the road and he sees that there's diamonds on the road, emeralds, rubies, sapphires. He still looks in his pocket. He has his little sort of eyeglass. It looks, it's genuine rubies, genuine. These things are worth a fortune. Scrapes them up. He's putting them in his pocket. He can't believe it. What's he going to do? And all of a sudden he hears people sort of laughing. He sees these little children standing around. They're all laughing at him. And he says, "Oh, he tries to hide it that he's got all these." And an older man says, "Excuse me, sir, where are you? Who are you?" He said, "Oh, I was shipwrecked, and my ship is wrecked." And he said, "What are you doing gathering those things from the ground?" He said, "Oh, it's nothing. I just said, what are you doing?" So he looks at the round. He says, "Listen, these things are diamonds. These things are worth a fortune. We'll split it. We're rich. Don't tell anybody." He says, "What do you mean we're rich? All the streets are filled with these things. these diamonds, rubies, they're not worth anything to us. What are they talking about?" Says, "Really?" He says, "Yeah. Well, you take them out of your pocket, or your pants are going to fall down. What do you got? You want diamonds, rubies? You can have as many as you want to, but they're worth absolutely nothing." All the kids are laughing. He said, "Really? Yeah, I guess you're right. They're all over there." He said, "I'll show you where there's bigger ones. You're gonna." He said, "Really? That it's not worth anything. Nothing. What's worth your fish?" Shalom, Paul. We started the class at 8:00. Okay, I'll give you a short resume of what this is. A story. This is the end of the class. A man gets shipwrecked on an island, and he sees that the streets are filled with diamonds and rubies and emeralds and sapphires, and he starts picking them up, putting them in his pocket. And suddenly some man comes up to him and says, "What are you doing?" He said, I'm nothing." He said, "What are you picking those stones up for?" He said, "Listen, between me, just keep this quiet. These things are diamonds, rubies. They're worth a fortune. Gather them up. We'll split the money. We'll split it. Don't tell anybody." He says, "What do you mean don't tell anybody? All the streets are filled with these things. Show you another place that they're even bigger. These are worth nothing. They're nice stones. I agree, but worth nothing." He says, "Really?" He says, "Yeah, look, there's all over the place. You can have as many as you want to. Take them out of your pockets." Yeah, what's worth what you hear? What's worth is fish. Fish. He says, "Sure, fish, that's worth something. It's not easy to catch. You can eat it. It doesn't last that long. It's rare, it's not found everywhere. That's fish. That's worth something. Really, yeah. Says, well, so he starts getting into it, right? He gets acclimated to the place. He said, but listen, I come from Europe. You know where I can go back to Europe? He says, we don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. Let's just to take it easy. So he starts, this fellow, he's a businessman, right? So he starts collecting fish. So he gets fish and he realizes the fish don't last long. So he develops a sort of refrigeration system. And people said to know people come to him and they keep their fish by him. So he has a bank. He's got a bank and he becomes a banker with fish. And after like 5 years, something like that, he's fantastically rich. He has this. Suddenly he realized, listen, I got so much money. He says, maybe I can make myself a boat, a ship. And I can try to figure out how to get back to Europe, go back home. So he makes this big ship and he outfits it with refrigerators, packs it up with fish, and he starts to try to figure out, he knows a little bit about navigation, how to get back to this. He finds an old fellow over there that sort of knows how to do it, how to get back. So that's it. He says goodbye to everybody. He leaves all the refrigeration over there in the town. And he gets on his ship and he travels back. He was a rich man. He's got tons and tons, hundreds, thousands of tons of fish. He's going to go back home. And he gets close to meanwhile, he's on the sea. And things sort of didn't go exactly the way he wanted to. It took him a little bit longer at sea than he wanted. And the refrigeration didn't work exactly that well, but it worked well enough. So he's coming near. Finally, he sees there's the shore. There's the Europe where he lived. He's coming back. As he gets closer to the shore, he sees people are all waving to him, and they're waving. Oh, they're waving. He gets closer. Everybody's waving to him like this. Get away! Get away! He docks the thing on the shore. Comes to the police, and they say, "With the whole, get this thing out of here! It smells bad. You're smelling up the whole town." He says, "What do you mean? It's a rich. I'm fortunate." He says, "What are you talking about? This fish, it smells terrible." So he's got no choice. What can he do? He dumps all the fish, and he docks his boat. And nobody even wants to buy the boat. They're thinking about it. It's an old-fashioned boat anyway. He made the thing. And finally, he asks around. It's 10 years he's not been at home. He comes home. He smells terrible. His kids are happy to see him, but it's just awful. So he washes himself up and he comes and he sits down. And the kids are so happy. Daddy, we didn't know where you were. We were so worried about you with this. So he's happy to see his family. Then he starts to cry. He says, what are you crying for? He says, I was a rich man. I had all this money. I lost everything. I lost everything that I've got, everything. He says, all I have is this one moment. Where were you? I was in this country, island. I don't know where it was. I don't know how to get back there. I just have a memento from the place, takes out the moment, puts this big diamond on the table. His son said, where did you get that? He says, the streets are full of them. That's not worth anything. It's just a memento from where his kids, all of them are looking what this. Daddy, this is a diamond. This thing must be worth $100 million. We've never seen a diamond as big, as pure as this. I said, yeah, really, wow. Yeah, you're right. I'm starting. You're right. Yeah, I guess you're right. It's really worth it. So that's the end of the story. What's the point of the story? That God sends us and puts us in the world. When we come in the world, and there's Torah, and there's commandments, and there's good deeds we can do. Anybody can do those things. What's worthwhile in the world? Money. You get money. You get honor. You get fame. Oh, that's what's really worth something. See this thing? 1 second. That's what's really worth something. Money, fame, and this. So you got it all. Then after a person passes away, so he goes up to heaven and says, look at all this. And God says, what do you got over here? What do you mean my picture was in every paper? What are you talking about? Look at my bank account, all these zeros. The zeros I see. The zeros you see. The whole thing was a big zero. He says, oh, wow, yeah. This is, all I did was a couple of mitzvahs. Ooh, a mitzvah. You did a mitzvah. You put on tefillin once in your life. Whoa, that's incredible. That's what's really worthwhile. It's the same thing we're in the world. We forget about how valuable the God's will is and we start thinking only about what's value in people's will, with people's will. So by thinking properly, putting in the proper identity, the proper perspective, is we can have both. You can have your fish and you can eat it too, and you can also have your diamonds, Torah, commandments, mitzvahs, which are putting eternal meaning into every moment of this life. Have a good day with Mashiach now. Shalom Avracha. See you all tomorrow, 8 o'clock in the morning.